Let me show you the biggest mistake ruining people's tracks and preventing them from actually finishing music. So you start your track with a great kick drum sample. Then you add an awesome deep and groovy bass line. Next you add in a nice tom groove. Put in some shakers and a hi-hat. So at this point you get a really good groove going, but this is exactly where the anxiety starts creeping up. How the hell are you going to come up with a lead line that actually fits this tracks and does this groove justice? And so instead of producing that lead line, you decide to procrastinate a little bit more just by adding one more texture. And another one. But at some point, you cannot avoid it anymore. So you summon all your creative energy, you pull from all sources of the almighty muse, and you try to throw in a couple of MIDI notes and dial in a preset that works. But it sounds like crap. God, that's so awful. Okay, all jokes aside, but this is one of the main reasons people get stuck and can't turn the loops into full arrangements. So in this video right here, I'm going to help you unfuck your melodies in 3 simple steps. Let's go. If you don't know me yet, my name is Philip from Pick Yourself. I produce, mix and master music professionally for over 15 years. I do this full time. And I also coach and mentor artists like you, help them finish songs consistently together with my team at Pick Yourself. If that's interesting to you, check out the link below in the description. Okay, let's turn this awful lead line into something actually good. So what do we have to do? I have 3 simple steps for you to unfuck your melodies once and for all. So the first step is counterintuitive, but it will help you so much in writing better lead lines. When we think about lead lines, we typically think about melodies. So a lot of different notes playing in our lead section. We obviously want to develop something unique that no one has ever done before. Well, I challenge you to rethink that approach. Let's for a moment look at the rhythm. If you take a look at this MIDI pattern here, you see that we have a lot of melodic complexity, but we actually have very little rhythmic complexity. So the rhythm is super straightforward. So we're just playing 8th notes here in a very straightforward way. So what happens if we change that? What I will try is I will reshift these notes to be a bit more rhythmically interesting. A good starting point is to start with a syncopated note. So syncopated means off the core beats. Now obviously we lost 2 notes here, but no one needs them anyway. So step number 1, instead of focusing on melodic complexity, focus on the rhythm first. This leads me directly to the second step, reduce melodic complexity. What if we don't need all those different notes here? In fact, do we even need more than 1 note? Let's try it out. I challenge you to try this out in your next production. Focus on the rhythm first and start with just a single note. And then you can start increasing the complexity on the melody slightly. So this here is essentially just the root note and an octave higher. So if you think that what we've just created is overly simplistic, think about some of the greatest hits in techno or other electronic music genres of all time. A lot of them use very few notes in a very interesting rhythm, but they would never be as successful as they are, wouldn't it be, for the third step that I'm about to show you right now. Step number 3 is probably the most important one. It's also the most difficult one. Now, before we get into this last and most crucial bit of the process, let me ask you this. Do you currently struggle with finishing songs consistently? If so, I have a free resource for you that will help you finish at least 1 great sounding song per month. That is my stretch goal for you. You can get it at pickyourself.com/framework. The link is also in the description. Now, let's hit our final step here. So far in this process, we have reduced the complexity in the melody, we have increased the complexity in the rhythm, and now we're going to increase the complexity in the sound design, because techno and really any other electronic music genre is mainly about sound and texture and not as much about how many notes you play. So I'm now going to show you 3 quick and easy methods that will help you ramp up your sound design to a level that can compete with the tracks out there. So in the first step, we want to create some variation in the notes so that they don't sound so robotic. An easy way to do this before touching any of the sound design is to just use an echo. And I've explained this philosophy in depth in another video, but what you can basically do is you can use this to, first of all, decorrelate the left and right channels a little bit. Use this in dotted 8th mode, that's fine, but then slow this down a little bit, speed this one up a little bit, bring down wet dry. And you hear this slight phasing sound. This is when one of the echoes correlates and coincides with one of the notes that are already playing here. What I would do if I were you is to just basically try out what happens if you delete one of those notes here and just let the delay take over. We'll also delete this one and maybe this one. So even if it still sounds horrible overall, it's starting to come together and you will be really surprised by the end result. Step number 2 in our sound design process is to focus on the synthesizer itself and dial in a couple of settings that make it just sound better overall. I don't know about you, but my biggest issue here is that it sounds a bit too thin overall. And I still like that it's playing in this high octave as well, but maybe not only in that octave. So what we can do is we can activate the sub oscillator here. You have to also play with the tone setting because that changes the wave shape of the sub oscillator. This is already much better. Now we still don't have enough motion in the sound, and the way we achieve this with a synthesizer, which is very similar to acoustic music where on a guitar every note you hit has a slightly different sound and timbre. The way you do this in a synthesizer is by using modulation, specifically envelopes and LFOs that you map to other settings, but I will also show you a couple of extra tricks. First of all, I always try to dial in an amp envelope that I actually want. So if I want something a bit more plucky, so I always grab this decay first because that's the thing that makes the most difference. Super plucky sounds would go like this. Sounds with more body, you put it into this direction. And the release is how long the note rings out. So I'll make it a bit shorter so that the delays are really nice and audible. If you want to add a bit more variety overall into your notes, here's a little trick for you. Let's bring down our filter frequency a little bit. And we can go to the MIDI settings here and we can map the key of the MIDI notes to the filter cutoff. Yeah, so I go to the filter frequency here, the key, and I map this into the positive direction. What that will do is whenever this high note plays, you will notice that the filter here will open. And already you're getting a slightly different timbre, but we can do much more than that. One of the things that I like to do is I go into my sound here and I randomize the velocity. Now I will try to emphasize the notes that I really want to play a bit louder. Now this already changes how loud these notes are playing because the velocity is mapped to the amp, so the overall output of the synthesizer. So what I personally like to do a lot is to open up a second oscillator and I map the velocity to the oscillator position. So automatically every MIDI note will trigger a different part of that wavetable, and that is pretty cool in my opinion. We can go even further and select the FM setting here and then map the velocity, for example, to the amount of the FM. So we get the slightly detuned feel, and I will bring down the second oscillator a little bit. Now overall I think this type of track that we're building here is like a bit more techno oriented. It actually doesn't have to be as tonal in terms of melody as we now have it. Let's try something out. I will go to the first oscillator and once again select FM, and I try to find like a sweet spot in the FM synthesis that to me sounds great. So this has some really built-in drama, which I like a lot. Now we'll discover the power of LFOs. So you go to the modulation sources and you pick the LFO, so the LFO1 for example. Let's maybe make this a bit slower and also deactivate the retrigger. So retrigger means just the LFO starts to cycle again with every single MIDI note that plays. Let's try out deactivating this so that it always keeps going back and forth. Now, we'll use this LFO, the LFO1, and we will map this to the tuning of the FM. Now, instead of the LFO that goes like this, you could also select, for example, a stair-step curve that is just a bit crazier, yeah, so almost like a random noise source. Yeah, you could combine this with the second LFO and use the second LFO to control the amount of the FM. Step 3 in our sound design process is going to be a lot of fun. We're now going to add a couple of effects, and you're not going to use them in the standard way. First of all, I think what could sound great with this type of sound is using the phaser flanger. It's one of my favorite effects. It's heavily underused. Now it already starts to get a bit more lively, and I will combine this with the corpus effect. This is also one of the very underrated effects inside Ableton Live. So the corpus, I will put this before the phaser flanger, maybe even before the echo actually, because I want every hit to sound slightly different here. And the cool thing is you can either use one of the built-in LFOs here, or you can use the LFO tool. And what we can do is we can map this LFO tool to different aspects of the corpus. One thing that I like to do is, for example, this one here, the in-harm, just a tiny bit. I have a couple of overtones being introduced from time to time. Once again, we'll slow down the LFO a little bit, maybe add some jitter, which means it's going to randomize the values a bit. And you can easily play around with some of these parameters, change them, and then think, okay, what could I map to this? Do I want to map the same LFO to this? Do I want to map another one? And the whole idea here is to bring our sounds to life with as few notes as possible, getting maximum returns in terms of the listener satisfaction. So I could, for example, use the second LFO here and map this LFO, for example, to the brightness and also to the intensity of the hit. Now, once again, bring this a bit down. And notice I'm not using like note values. I want this to feel like a little bit loose and random. And you could play around with some of these other models. I actually like this quite a lot. And then you see what kind of parameters here sound best to you. Now, if this sounds too weird to you, you can obviously always dial back the modulation, make everything just a tiny bit reduced, not as upfront, and bring it back to normal. But I always like to explore the boundaries of what is possible and what is sounding great, and then dial it back afterwards. Now here's a little pro tip for you. If you end up with something that sounds great in terms of texture, but you still want it to cut through a little bit more in the mix, here's what you can do. So first you select a really upfront and bold sounding synth. In my case, this would be Drift. Create a new MIDI channel here, and I will simply copy this lead line into Drift. Now what I will do is I will go inside these MIDI notes here. I will first of all make sure that the velocity is the highest on every single note. And I will pitch it down 1 octave because that's overall a bit too high. And you hear there's some of this boldness from drift coming in. But what I would do is I would like bring this in very gently, just as like one more supportive layer, and then maybe dial in a couple of the other settings so that they work well in tandem of the like more complex and rich sound that you've created before. Now, if you want to be even more straightforward, you could put this also into the mono mode. If you want it to be a bit more wide and immersive, you can go into unison mode. So in this specific case, I would go for mono and then maybe add some more voices and increase this here, which just adds in a bit more swell. And you can hear a little bit of phasing, obviously, through the different voices that are playing in mono, but that is actually sounding quite nice and gives it overall a bit more variety in the notes once again, but also stability. So if you play those two together, it sounds like this. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments and I will see you in the next video.